Hello and welcome to the Event Collab podcast. Today we talk with Sonya Paz of BeeHiiv. She has been a professional artist for over 30 years and started BeeHiiv in 2015 to teach others the art of creativity in a fun, social, and energetic atmosphere. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Event Collab podcast, where we feature people in the event industry and beyond who collaborate to make events and human connections more memorable. In each episode, we interview a new guest who brings a refreshing perspective on live events and human connection related topics and technologies. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome back to the Event Collab podcast. So excited to have you tuning in. I'm Chris. This is Mark. Mark, how you doing today, man?
Doing great, Chris. How are you today?
Man, I'm so good. Excited about this podcast that we just got off of with Sonya Paz. How about you, man? What'd you think of it?
I mean, how can you go wrong mixing wine and a bunch of colorful paint? I mean, what she does it's so fun. It's so fun. Can't wait to talk about it.
Man, super excited. So check this out now. Hey, well, Sonya, we're so glad to have you on the Event Collab podcast. We thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Hey, absolutely. Is it warm out there on the West Coast, or how is it?
It's normal. It's been warm. We've had a lot of warm days, but yesterday was super windy, and today we've got a nice little chill, cold front. And I'm in the Central Valley, so we're not like San Francisco where it's always sort of cool. But yeah, so us native Californians kind of freak out when it's a little too cold in May.
Oh, that's so good. Well, look, so for our guests, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing right now, what you have going on?
Sure. So I am a professional artist. I've been a professional artist professionally full-time, actually 20 years. But I've been an artist all my life and owned everything from my own self-represented galleries, created my own product line, done all of the crazy things that artists should do. I am a massive marketer when it comes to my art. I don't like to talk so much about me to the public, but I love talking about the art. So I'm getting better with that. And then about 7 years ago, I started a company called BeeHiiv, where I teach people in large groups in wine bars, restaurants, and wineries how to create a painting in roughly 2 hours. And it has been amazing. I have always been asked if I wanted to teach art, and I didn't even let people get that question out of their mouth before I would blurt out no. But then friends of mine encouraged me to, just take it up a level, teach some art, have some fun, because I closed my big gallery in 2012. So I was kind of hiding out a little bit and then decided, well, you know what, maybe I need to get back out there because I was suffering from massive retail burnout. And they said, you should do this, and then you can do it on your terms because you go to the restaurants or you go to the wineries. So BeeHiiv was born, and so I've done a variety of different types of events. So it's been quite an amazing journey.
That's really great. That's really great. And besides your friends, what was sort of the spark that had you go from art to like teaching and then making it into teaching at events?
I think the spark was they saw that I had I had a huge gallery in downtown Campbell, 2,300 square feet, a boatload of employees. There was really no time to create, even though I said, oh, this is great, I'll have my own gallery and, I'll create and it'll be great. It actually kind of just stripped away the creativity, and it was all logistics and operations and manufacturing and product development and managing employees and being the everything person. I really felt just tired. So at the end of 2014, we all went out to dinner, and I'm really outgoing and really bubbly, and I was really overly quiet. And they said, okay, this is not you. You know what? You should be doing these things that other people are doing, but put your own spin on it. And I had not really even known much about it at that point. And I said, I don't like teaching. It's just, I felt like I needed to have a big structure. And even though I do run my business very structurally, very regimented, I thought, well, you know what? It is on my terms, so let's try it out. And went home that night, looked up what other companies were doing, and wanted to do something along the same formula, but decided to basically make it my own and do it my way. And created a logo that evening, and 2 weeks later, I launched my website. So I'm one of these very tenacious artists. Don't tell me I can't do something, because I'll give you 50 reasons why I'm going to do it and succeed at it. So the spark keeps sparking and it keeps going, but it doesn't take much for me to get motivated.
Well, it also doesn't sound like it feels like teaching to you either at this point with the environment that you've created.
Right. And I used to say, "Oh, this isn't your grandma's art class," but well, now that I'm a grandma, I can't say that anymore. Well, I can say it's a hip grandma class, but anyway, it's the thing that gets me fueled and energized is that there's a whole group of people there. I mean, we can have anywhere from 15 to 50 at one given time. And I'll tell you, just like Madonna, get a headset on a girl, got a PA system going, and the party starts. So I have lots of great music. I have a lot of the feedback and the vibe of everybody there to have a great time makes it so it's an enjoyable event that is just, it's fun. And it's not like teaching, but it is, because as much as you're in a quiet setting at, let's say, a university or college or an art studio, it tends to be very quiet. This is more upbeat, but I do manage to get around and give individualized attention for those people who might have questions or struggle in a component of the art lesson.
See, that's so cool. I think one of the questions that I really have about that, right, is because when you jumped in, you're in person, so the vibe is different because you're kind of together. So like 2020 comes around, and like I saw that you went virtual, and I'm like, how do you deliver that same experience virtually? Like that's just a question on my mind.
Oh, okay. So okay, all I have to say is thank goodness for Facebook Live, because my father was a photographer, and every time, I mean, we're talking old school, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, every time he'd get a new lens, and when this is pre-digital, every time he'd get a new lens, I was the subject that he would take the different filters, and I'd have to sit there with a flower in the patio and turn my head this way and that. So I hated being behind the camera. It just made me crazy. And anytime that I was interviewed for something, I would stiffen up because I felt it was just, I had to read by cue cards, and that just is outside myself. So when Facebook Live or the live streaming platforms came through, it was like one take Jake kind of thing. Okay, here it is. Boom, you're on. And I do really well in that format. So when 2020 hit, I thought, oh my, I'm not gonna have anything going on for a while, because it's been all live in my regional area, from Monterey to San Francisco and the Central Valley. So I talked to my son, he's a professional gamer, and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing these events. And his response is, oh, Mom, this is so great. Here's what you got to get. He starts telling me I got to buy this certain kind of boom and this certain kind of camera. And I was like, okay, let's just hang on there, Skippy. This is something and I'm technical, and I came from high tech, from Apple, Claire's, Microsoft, Adobe. But feeling the fear of having the platform fail on me was my biggest fear. So especially when 2020 hit, there was a lot of bandwidth issues and things. So I was really afraid. But he told me, no, it's fine. And here's, you got to use this platform, use this camera, get this boom. So I did upgrade my Mac. It was one of the first things I did. That's another story. because at the beginning of 2020, that was uneventful. And then, so I started the first 7 or 8 months with a Mac and just one webcam, no microphone, no boom. So when I started, it was great. I'd sold out my first event with like 75 people, which was very scary because I thought there's 75 opportunities to have Zoom go crazy or something. So that was my first thing. I'm going to do the best I can and make sure you have everything set up before we get on. But for 7 months or so, I used my webcam, and when I had to have the overhead shot of my hands, I had to take off the webcam, rubber band it to an overhead boom, adjust that. So it was kind of crazy. And then he told me, you need to get better camera, and I got a Stream Deck and the boom, and now I look like a pro. So, I mean, I've been a pro, but now it was a lot of fun, because as nerve-wracking as it is, technology is what it is, and everyone's forgiving, because, if something happens, you just tell them, hold on, blame it on the platform, and everyone understands it. So,
well, that's great. So what lessons did you learn in virtual that you've now moved into live again? And sort of how did like the whole virtual experience change maybe your new live business model, or maybe a hybrid business model for you?
Oh yeah, it was great to not leave the house but still be working. But the thing that was just really amazing that I had created for myself was that nobody could procure any really good art supplies through the COVID, through the pandemic. And I had all of my paints, big jugs of paint that I would take to the events. And, when we did the live events, it was taking the paint and putting them on paper plates so everyone would have them. So I ran over to the restaurant supply store and got those little sauce cups, and I would create my own kits, and I would mail those out to each person. So the price of the event included the canvas, which I already had, the creative kit, which I made, brushes, which I ordered if I didn't already have some in stock, and so just creating that. But I was able to expand not only in just my immediate local area. I was shipping kits to New York, Rhode Island, Texas, Florida, North Carolina. So I was getting into areas and territories and offering creative events outside of an area that I didn't even think that were interested. So
yeah.
that was really awesome.
It's smart and lucky at the same time. And
Yeah.
and are you now traveling a little bit to do events in other states as it opens up, or looking at that for part of what you want to do in the future?
I have been asked, but I mean, in my immediate area, I kind of keep it to maybe a 1.5 hour travel. So I have just an area that I service as far as in live events, but the virtual events has stemmed off into corporate events, and using LinkedIn, as I had found you folks, and using LinkedIn as a really amazing platform to let people know that, hey, is your stay-at-home crew with your business being completely stifled, or are they losing momentum because they need something fun to do? So I would offer the Vino Paint events, and that is just, it's been crazy busy. So that was nice.
That's so cool. I just think it's always cool how like a new business was birthed inside of the other business, right? It's like tragedy turned to like, oh no, I can do all this other stuff, and
Yeah.
and so do you feel like just even in the experience, right? Because I think that was I mean, just in our years before all this happened, right? The biggest thing was people were scared to do live streaming, scared to do online events, and then when it became that was it, everybody was like, well, this is it. And I feel like now that things are opening up, we're at this stage of does everybody want to go live, or everything's hybrid now? Like, do you find that you're still, both sides are open for you? Like you're not pushing to one way or another, or?
Yeah, pretty much. There's, as soon as, in California, the regulations to do any kind of events was a lot more stringent, a lot more stringent than other states. So everything was on lockdown times 5 versus, other areas of the country. So once, especially Santa Clara County, which is the San Jose area, when they got the lift, people were just reaching out. Not only for me, but, wanting to get bands back in, or getting wine tasting events back in, and restaurant, and sip and paint, and curated other types of pairings going on. That it was when it rained, it poured. So a lot of folks were saying, I know you're doing the virtual thing, but can we schedule you for an event for this day or that day? And as I mentioned, it's one of those things where I kind of paid attention, or returned the calls first of the folks that I had been doing standing events with over the past several years, and said, okay, so here we are. What do you think? How many people can we do? And whereas a venue might be able to accommodate 40 people, we kind of reduced it down to 20, just out of respect for getting back into the groove. Yeah. Me feeling that I haven't been physically live, I had a bit of anxiety of, here we are, It was a little scary kind of getting back into it. Not because of the pandemic, that, and just seeing people again. It was exciting, and I was a little apprehensive. But it was once everyone got there and everyone had a glass of wine, it was all good. Wine is
nice and easy, right?
Yeah.
That's about how it usually is.
And I always describe it as, people will say, I can't even draw a stick figure, so I don't know if this is for me. I'm like, well, that's okay, because we don't draw stick figures. And think of Vino Paint, or think of this event as, almost like if you were doing karaoke. After you have a glass of wine or a shot of something, then, you're less inhibited.
Oh, that's so good. So one of the things we like to talk about, again, it's the Event Collab podcast. And so we always like to ask questions around collaboration. And so how do you feel like the art plays a part in your collaboration when you structure these events?
I have a lot of folks who are artists. I even have people with degrees in art that come out because this is different than something. The energy level is something that is really, you look at art classes from 10, 15 years ago, and there's people with easels. It's super quiet. There's soft music, and it's very, very zen. And this is very zen on steroids because you're learning from a professional artist, and you are taking probably a painting that would take you maybe 2 or 3 or 4 lessons to do, and we've crammed it into 2 hours. And there is a recipe. There's a lot of madness behind the scenes, from me creating the paintings to engineering those and timing it, and what is the good step by step. So there's a lesson plan on my side, but by the time the lights go on, or the food is being served, or the wine is being poured, and the canvases are getting prepped, there's a whole essence of people, and there's other encouragement. So there's a lot of encouragement, because not only am I there and I have helpers, but they have the person sitting next to you, they might be using a different color, and I encourage people to not have to. I do a step by step, but I might use a color, and I'll say, I'm going to use yellow, but this is your painting, so you do whatever. And some people will say, wave me over and say, well, I was thinking of using pink or yellow. Like, I think it's awesome. So it is constant praise, and no one has walked away with anything bad. It's always been interesting. and I look at it like Bisquick. It's a recipe, but in the Bisquick, you have this formula, but you can create and keep expanding on the artwork, and the people that can make something from it based on just a basic recipe and create and do something outside the box is truly awesome and amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. That sounds super fun. It sounds like it would be really fun.
Let me know. I'll get you. I'll have you come in on one of our virtual events sometime.
Oh, that's great. We'll absolutely take you up on that. That'll be super fun.
Yeah.
All right, so we have some rapid fire fun questions now in this part of the podcast.
Okay.
You ready for them?
I am.
All right, here we go. Coffee or tea?
Tea. Decaf.
Only decaf, though. What's your favorite decaf tea?
I like I think it's Bigelow's Constant Comment. Constant Comment decaf. I have to have decaf. Long story there. I have to do. I know it's a rapid fire, but yeah, I had to stop caffeine a few years ago because it was making me a little.
I have another good friend in the event industry that's very similar. So every time I bring her tea, it's always decaf. So
Yeah.
You are not alone.
All right. What's your favorite mobile phone app?
My favorite mobile phone app is right now. I hate to say it, but TikTok.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, but other than that, Instagram.
Nice.
And then all right, what question do you wish people would ask you? What's the one question that you wish people would ask you? Or maybe said differently, what question did we not know to ask you that maybe we should have?
When people hear that I'm a professional artist, it's suddenly, oh, how cute. It's not cute. It's a lot of work.
It is, yeah.
They'll say, oh, so what do you do? Well, I'm a professional artist and I paint for a living. And I get the look, oh, cool. So it's almost like they don't think it's a real job, or they associate what I do as being flaky or not serious. And I am the most serious artist with, I want to conquer the world with colors. And so, and I'm not a big person, so I've always been underestimated as a kid. I mean, I'm 5 foot, whatever, 100 and whatever pound. I don't even know how much I weigh, but I'm small, and I always get underestimated. So I was like, don't underestimate the curly-haired kid sitting in the back of the class. I'm just saying.
I love that. I love that. All right. So besides this podcast, what is your favorite blog, podcast, book, or ebook?
Podcasts that I like are, I love your podcast, of course.
Thank you.
Because I love hearing about what other people are doing. I love business podcasts like, what is it? My gosh, my mind went to a blank. How I Built This with Guy Raz. That's because I love hearing people's stories from the beginning. I have a friend, Sue Monhai, with Biz Gift Unwrapped, and it's all about the gifting industry. And I love a good, gnarly true crime podcast.
Have you ever listened to Guy Kawasaki's Remarkable People podcast?
I believe that is on my list of things, but I definitely got to check that out more.
Generally, when he gets the CEO or somebody who started a company on the podcast, he has a very interesting way of teasing out the entire story and things that you hadn't heard in a very authentic and sort of like Guy Kawasaki way. It's pretty fascinating. He's actually really good at it.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. No, there's so many amazing podcasters out there telling their story and getting people to tell their story, which is awesome.
Yeah. What's your favorite city to work in?
Maybe
it's the one you live in, yeah.
Well, I live now in a town that's about this. It's tiny. My favorite. I mean, does it have to be in the U.S. or?
No,
Okay, so I lived in Germany when I was in my early 20s for a short while. So I would have to say Stuttgart, Germany is one of my favorite. I mean, flavors, food, people. Yeah. I haven't been back, but yeah, that's got to be my favorite.
That's so good. All right, so we know we've been through a lot in the past couple years, right? Where do you see the industry headed in the next 3 years in the events space?
I know that a lot of folks' business models are only dependent on live events, whether it's, concert venues or sporting or whatever. And I mean, it's kind of hard to really take a lot of those to virtual, but I think the virtual platform is giving people a lot more opportunity to sort of create something that they haven't done before, and has given them opportunities to kind of overcome the fear and get on. I mean, my mom, well, she just recently passed away, but we were Zooming with her. Here's an 89-year-old lady who was on, who was Zooming. She would have never Zoomed if it hadn't been for that. But I think I think the event space virtually is giving a lot of people ideas and how to be creative and come up with something new and different.
So what is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
Oh, this is a good one. How long do I got? All right.
maybe rapid fire top 3. I don't know. You tell me.
Okay. So it's funny. I just talked about this weekend, and I'll make this real short. But when I was around 10 or 11, I wanted to be a jockey. That was what I was destined to do in life. I wanted to be a jockey, and I took riding lessons. And I would take these riding lessons weekly from a gal who had horses up in the mountainous areas up in like the Almaden area up in San Jose. And there was a stable guy who one day asked me, and here I'm 10, 11, 12 years old, and he said, "So why are you taking these riding lessons if you don't have a horse?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to get a horse someday. I'm 11. I know everything." I said, "Well, I'm going to get a horse someday because I'm going to be a jockey, and I want to be able to, do that." And he laughed in my face and told me, "Well, if you want to be a jockey, you're too old. You needed to be learning when you were like 4 or 5 years old." And I was crushed. I even wrote a blog about this. And I was crushed. I thought, well, here I'm believing this, and I go home and ask my parents, and they don't know the answer. There was no Google back then, no real answers. I mean, I helped out in 4-H just so I can get riding time. So I was disenchanted and stifled, and I really just kind of gave up the dream. So the moral of the story is never, ever, ever, ever take advice from someone who shovels, for a living. It's true. Because I thought, oh, I'm too old, so I've missed the boat. And I really just, I thought I shouldn't be riding anymore. I mean, I love the horses and everything, but that was the advice. So I want to say at the time I didn't think it was great advice, but as I've grown older, that is the best advice, because it's taught me there's a lot of naysayers in this world, and people will step on your hopes, your dreams, your ambitions, and being the tenacious one that I am, ever since then I thought, yeah, okay, that's good for you, but that's not good for me, and I just keep trudging along. So
yeah, I would agree with that too. That's
so amazing. It's like, can I add that one to the list? Like, let me tell you guys. Yeah. All right. So last question we always like to ask everybody is, what does collaboration mean to you?
Oh, it's bringing not only bringing like-minded folks together, but gathering, doing networking of people in different industries and coming up with cool ideas and working together to achieve something really cool or nice, getting to know other industries and how they work, and just, and I've worked, when I had my gallery, we had people use the gallery a lot for networking events or chamber events or parties, and it was just, getting people in a really fun space to work on. And we had so many different, hundreds of events, but the collaboration portion of it and learning how not only to talk about your business, but to get information from others about what they do in their business and how they work it and how they move forward.
That's so good. So tell the people, where can they connect with you at? Where can they find you on the internet and look up everything that you're doing and you have going on?
Okay, thank you. I'm on Facebook, of course. My professional art site would be facebook.com/Sonya Paz Gallery. And my Instagram is Instagram/VinoPaint, VinoPaint. And I do have a TikTok channel. It's not, nobody follows me, but maybe they will now.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Trying to get better with getting all my reels done and just doing small little snippets of video and showing behind the scenes things like how I package up the creative kits for VinoPaint, telling a story of, like when I moved into my new office space about a month ago, just, anything. My granddaughter's on there helping water flowers in the backyard. So just having content on there that's just a little bit random and creative and hopefully inspiring will, help others or make people think about creating, or life as an artist is not all glamour shots and, showroom photos in a gallery. It's that's why I don't have manicures. Just there's a lot of dirt under your fingernails type thing.
True. Well, I like one of the quotes on the Sonya Paz website, which was, "Let the wild energy and sweetness of your inner soul sprinkle life into your day." I love that. It's like, oh yeah, this is going to be a fun one today.
Yeah.
So,
oh, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And my all-time thing was when people say, "What's your tagline?" And my tagline is, "Life is business as usual." So, because that's just for me, living and breathing it, and so.
That's so good. Sonya, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us and have this conversation. I'm so glad. Stay connected. This is a good conversation. I love the creative side of it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm taking photos, sorry. So I'm going to put this on LinkedIn and everything afterwards. So do the little hi. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I never think that I'm doing anything really special when it comes to my events, but feedback and have an opportunity to be on your show based on things that I do is really I appreciate it so much. So thank you so much.
Well, I'll bet the 40 people or 20 people that you have inside the room that are creating art would have a different opinion when they walked out. I'll bet you've influenced those people's lives in that moment too. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. I mean, I have one lady who, if I can just add this in really quick, I have one lady who started doing the live events, who she comes and she's in a like a little handicap, like a scooter. She's in a scooter, and she pulled me aside. This is back in 2020. My last event was March of 2020. And she had come to that, and she pulled me aside and said, 6 months ago, I couldn't use my left hand, and your events have helped me with, your energized encouragement has made me. So there's little things like that really make me feel like, might be doing something really good out there.
Absolutely.
So good.
Awesome.
So good.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate this.
As do we.
Awesome. You all have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for joining us today on the Event Collab podcast. Remember, competition makes us become the best version of ourselves, and collaboration makes it better for all of us. We'll see you in the next episode.